Hi everybody, it's Neil from iTinker here. I want to show you one of my most sought after, most asked about projects, I guess. My wooden binder that I keep all my plans in. This one, of course, has my box plans in it, for all my wooden boxes, and why not keep it in a wooden binder? I thought it was a great idea, so we made one. How do you make a wooden binder? Well, like that. Looks pretty easy. One of the challenges that we had when we were doing this was trying to make a wooden binder with standard hinges. They're countersunk on one side, flat on the other. Great, not so great for binders where you need to come at them from both sides. This special hinge from Small Box Hardware is countersunk on one leaf on one side and on the other leaf on the other side. Perfect for binder making. I'll show you how it works in a minute. It is available in nickel and brass to match most of the common rings. Most everything is in nickel out there. There's a few available in brass. Some of my favorites are also black, no matching hinge. You do what you can. Coming up in antique, one of the other things you got to remember is size. Do you need standard letter size, or do you need something different for a scrapbook or a memory book? It's up to you. So we'll take you through building a standard binder right now. Okay, so the binder we're going to make using my lovely technical drawing here, we have to find the right size ring for it. So no, that's a scrapbook binder. Nope, standard 8.5, 11. That's the one. And today, regardless of the other finishes, we're working with nickel. So we're going to need that, a couple of binder hinges, a 1-inch ring. We're good to go. So let's go pick out some wood. For this binder, I think we'll work out of pine. I have some 3/8 that's already been planed down. Okay, so I've got some 3/8 pine that I want to use for these binders. I'm actually going to be making a couple, not this many, but I have some other things I have to cut at the same time. And I'm going to be able to use the offcuts for the binder project, so that'll work out well. So, download the plan off the website. We'll post it up there, a little bit cleaner than this. Depending on the thickness of the wood you're using, you may have to make some adjustments, but the plans I'm going to put up there will be for 3/8 material. It's going to make the best rustic looking binder you can. So let's make a cut list and get started. Okay, so we've cut some parts. We've got some straps to go across the front. We've got our slats to go vertical. And we've got a bunch of those. Some of them we may decide not to use, so I cut a few extra. We have a spline, which is the outside, and we have a spacer block, which actually goes just under the ring. So how do we put it together? Well, simply enough, we're going to build the front and the back, and then put it all together. So how do we build the front and the back? Well, they look pretty simple. A bunch of slats with connector strips on them. The only problem is we don't want to see our nails, so we got to nail them inside. So the first time I did this, I actually just lined it up against a jig, put in some extra material underneath to space it, and lined it all up, measured it front and back. Bang, no problem. However, the second time I did it, I realized this was going to be a little extra work, hence the jig. And the jig makes it actually go pretty fast. So, we put in our pieces, line up our slats. For an even more rustic look, you can use thinner slats and leave a gap in the middle. You know, I don't know where you would want to go, but that would really depend on the look you're going for. This one, we will actually line them all up. And I am going to eschew on those guys, but I'm going to use that knot. I kind of like him. He's got some character. And hopefully he may be buried behind a strip, but maybe not. All right, now, all we need now is a little glue. White glue is your friend. Too much is your enemy. Removing white glue on slats that run cross parallel to the grain is always a bit difficult. And try not to smudge it. Now I use a 5/8 staple gun. You could nail it. That would work as well. Make sure you don't use, even though you've got 3/4 inch material, it tends to go a little further. So now the nice thing about this, you can see where your slots are. And I still check pretty tightly. Okay, and there's the second side. So we can get rid of that jig and move on. Now, next thing we do is, next question we have to ask ourselves is, what do we do next? We've got our two sides. Next thing we do is put the hinges on, and we'll actually add them to this, to the back of the fronts first. Now remember, the outside of the front, the leading edge, is set back. The binding edge, they just extend just about a 1/16 of an inch is just fine. Now, normally you could put these in a vise, a vertical vise on the edge of your bench, works just fine. Or if you have a couple of scraps of wood kicking around, you may want to do it this way. Nice and easy. A little sloppy, but it'll work just fine. All you need to do is hold them vertical. And then you need your special binder hinges. Now they're going to go like so. Actually, what we'll do is we will just get some slop out of the system. Since I don't have a vise handy, I'll just do that. Now it is not necessary to pre-drill, but you will probably enjoy the results a lot better if you do. Actually, I just want to get my specs on. You could mark this and drill it properly. Probably not a bad idea, especially if you don't do this every day. You want to use as long a screw as you can. Now these are number 2s, so they're not available that too much longer. These are 1/2 inch. I think you can get them in 5/8, but 1/2 inch will suffice. And you see here, this is the part that I was mentioning before, where the bevel is going to leave these flush on this side. Yet when we screw them into the binder, this side is beveled, so they will screw in. We'll show you in just a minute. So let's get the rest of these drilled. Okay, that's got our 4 hinges on. Pretty simple. And that jig's done. So now we have a front and a back. At this moment in time, they're completely interchangeable. Based on finish and that, you may want to make a call. I think this will make a nicer front. Now, how do we build the binder? Well, at this point, you want to think carefully as to if there's any bits you'd like to engrave or embellish. If you wanted to put something on the front, laser it, or have it lasered, or, well, anything at all, now would be the time you want to do that. If you wanted to stain it and laser through the stain, if you want to do some wood burning, you may want to do that ahead of this assembly stage. It's just a little easier when it's in parts. You can take it apart later, but I don't recommend it. So if not, get your spline, put it in. Oh, but I'm going to actually go ahead and use a lasered, since this is a tinker after all, we'll use a lasered thing. All right, like that. So whatever you want, and plunk it in. Your hinges bump up right against the inside of the hinges, funnily enough. And actually, if you don't need this guy, if you go up against a nice rule like that, you can actually, that won't work. We're gonna have to go here. So you want to keep it as square as possible, using your straight edge. Now these screws, we used as long as we could on the splines because they had to give us as much strength as we could into the ends of the fronts and backs. The opposite is true with these guys. You don't want any more than 3/8, so otherwise you're going through your wood and that will not work for you. So these guys also, depending on the wood you're using, probably don't need to be pre-drilled. They will suck down nicely. And this again, you'll see where the having the bevel on the back of the screw is important because now we're relatively flush here. So when we put our inset piece in, it's not going to interfere with the inset piece. It'll lie flat. Okay, and now we get our last screw in. So now all we need is our spline, or the inner spline. And basically that's just going to sit right on top of here. You cut it to the right length as in the plans. What will happen is these will close and they will bump onto the wood and the ring, and they will not try and tear the hinge off. These guys will still lie flat at the end of the day, so you're all good. Now, in reality, this particular piece is sitting on top of these hinges. In practice, I like to throw a bead of glue in there anyway. I realize it's probably not necessary, but I put a little bit in just no matter what, just to give it something. Of course, one of the tricks then is you can't really let it sit standing up for too long until it's dry because it will get in your way. Now this guy, we are going to staple in again with our 5/8 staples. You could actually go longer, but, well, I don't think you need to. Now, one thing you want to check, you're going to be screwing your inner ring in, and you want to make sure you don't staple where the ring is going to go. A smarter person would probably very carefully measure this. However, for the purpose of this exercise, we won't be doing that. More than that is probably pointless. We're holding it down on either side of the hinges, and that's a nice even bond. If I put one in the middle, it'll tend to bow, and well, tending to bow is never good for wood, is it? So, all right, and then we center our ring in the middle. Again, measure twice. And these screws, in all truth, should be a little longer. For this demo, I actually ran out, so I'm going to just use these little guys, but they should be a good 3/4 inch screw here. Actually even more because the ring is sitting up on 1/8 inch risers. And we are done. There's our binder. Good to go. Nice, solid wood binder, inherently rustic in its look, as modern as you like, with lasering or hand wood burning or wood burning en masse. Actually, I'll put that the right way up. Yeah, that's the right way. There you go. This one's actually made of cedar, but stained with a mahogany stain, a little bit lighter. So there you go, a binder made from scrap wood using materials around your shop. Hardware available from smallboxhardware.com. Plans are on the website. Have fun, send us in a picture of what you did, and we'll throw it up on the site. Thanks for watching.